Close of play of the second day of the first Test match between England and South Africa at Lords sees South Africa firmly in control. They lead by 124. They've got 3 first innings wickets left. They're on 289 for 7. And really the only thing to say positively about England is that there's a new ball due more or less first thing in the morning. But even so, there's surely a feeling that the damage has been done. Jansen will resume on 41 not out, a really useful innings, that coming a little bit higher up the order than we expected. Rabada is on 3, and the real feature, a partnership of 72 in 12 overs between Maharaj, who made 41 from 49 balls, and Jansen. So just to run through the day's events, England lost Pope fairly early, dragged the ball into his stumps for 72. That was 134 for 7. Broad was out for 15, Leach for 15, and Anderson was Rabada's 5th wicket for a duck. So 165 all out. They lost 4 for 49 on this second morning. Rabada finishes 5 for 52 and Nokia 3 for 63. South Africa, well, they rather broke the back of that 165 with their opening stand, which was worth 85. Elgar made 47. He was out in the most unfortunate fashion, the ball bouncing off all sorts of parts of his body before just gently dribbling into his stumps. Erfia, the other opener, made 73, increasing in confidence as he went. Peterson 24, Markram 16, Van der Dussen 19. Wickets falling there for Stokes. He took 2 in 7 balls. Farine was out for 11. Then that's partnership, which really has took advantage of South Africa's situation against a rather flagging attack and some very strange fields, which I'm sure we'll be talking about over the course of the next 15 minutes or so. Maharaj finally was out. He rather clothed a catch to mid-wicket off a short ball from Stokes, where Potts took the catch. So 41 from 49 balls, 289 for 7. A lead, therefore, of 124. Rabada finding his name up there on the honours board at Lords with 5 for 52. The last South African to do that here is sitting to my right, looking quite pleased himself, Vernon Philander, after that day. I mean, there's a lot going on. It's pretty breathless stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's a exciting day of Test match cricket, wasn't it? After that opening partnership, we thought South Africa was firmly in the driving seat, but then England managed to claw their way back, and at 210 for 6, you started believing that they have done so. But yeah, this last hour probably just spoiled everything that they've worked so hard for. But yeah, I mean, a lot of credit as well to the way the guys have stuck in there. Erwin managed to show that he really steadied the ship and he could build a couple of partnerships. But I think that last partnership between Keshav and the tall Jansen really broke the back of the England deck.
Yes, yeah, I mean, that's probably sums it up, Alistair, doesn't it?
No need for me to say anything. You're absolutely right. England, it wasn't their best day with the ball. Actually, it's not often you say that about the England bowling attack. The one thing you'd almost to guarantee is the hitting length. Bowling, putting the pressure on the opposition. There was, I've called it today Jaffers and junk, and I mean that a little bit tongue in cheek, because there were some balls which
you're learning a tabloid game very quickly, Alistair. Well done.
But there was some absolute seeds flying around there. All 4 bowlers, all 4 seamers in particular, and actually even Jack Leach when he started there, but just it mixed in with it. There was the release ball, and it's just so unlike the England bowling attack to be like that. They're normally absolutely relentless. Yes, they might not have the pace of the South Africans or other bowling attacks, but their world-class strength is the relentless nature of it. And now, was there a case of the fact that they all haven't played a red ball game for 5 weeks?
Well, you flagged that up this morning, to be fair. You did say, I mean 5/6 weeks of not playing, and I mean, I can understand why they had a rest after that 4th test, because they had played those test matches on there. So that's fine, but Test cricket, I mean, you've got to be prepared for it, haven't you? And if you are slightly off, you're going to pay.
So hard. And I think Broad and Anderson are always going to be there or thereabouts. They weren't poor by any stretch of the imagination today. They just weren't. We've seen them bowl better. Yeah. But Matthew Potts is probably the prime example of that. When he turned up, the last time he played a test, he played the test series. He had 6 or 7 first-class games behind his back. He was on it, wasn't he? He was absolutely game ready, and he just didn't miss. That was the thing which really surprised me when we first saw Potts. He was relentlessly accurate with high skills, and today he bowled some great balls. But it mixed in with that was some just release pressure balls, and I can only put that down to the fact he hasn't bowled much.
Yeah.
And I think tactically, behind the scenes, getting them ready for this. You know, it's not helpful with the structure they've got at the moment, the 100 going on, and there hasn't been much cricket available.
There was the Lions game.
But there has some cricket available.
Yeah, and I mean, would it have felt like a punishment in a way for Anderson and Broad to go and played in that Lions game? I mean, it wasn't a first-class match, and there were being substitutions being made in a way which actually would have helped them in a way. They could have bowled us a few overs, and then gone off and let the Overton play or something.
I would have thought so, yeah. I thought when that game was announced, it was meant to be a first-class game, and I think it got changed quite late on, whether that's South Africa.
To accommodate South Africa, I think, yeah.
I think so, and I think as soon as that happened, I think England should have reacted, and I think they should have bowled a bit, and I think that would have been better for the run-out. Sometimes you have to do things in your training, in your preparation, which isn't pleasant, you know, and it's not ideal tracking all the way down to Canterbury to play a meaningless game in one sense, but actually the miles in their legs, the rustiness, I think would have come up. I think the argument, I think some of them would have said, we don't want to see you let them face Broad and Anderson for the game. Yeah. But do you know what?
They faced them before.
they might not have faced them before, but they know what they're going to do.
Yeah.
You know, there's not that much in, you know, Potts probably quite a few of them haven't faced, but that's, you know, we've batted all our lives against bowlers we haven't seen before.
It was effectively a practice opportunity, wasn't it?
Yeah, so I'd be interested, you know, if you start digging deeper and asking the hierarchy, was that possibility?
What do you think, Ferdinand? Because you do have to be on top of your game, don't you? And it doesn't matter how experienced you are, how many overs you've bowled, how many wickets you've taken, you've got to be in the groove.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I firmly agree with Alistair. There's just some things you can't substitute, and overs out in the middle, overs in the legs, that you can't substitute. I mean, you can bowl 6 overs in the nets, but we all know having to be on your feet in the field, chasing after balls, having to then bowl those 6 overs. There's just a certain sharpness, you know, when it comes to match intensity, and it's so difficult to replicate that at nets. I mean, yeah, both of them, you know, Broad and Anderson, vast experienced characters, so they would also know that, you know, what they need to do to be game ready. And for me, yes, I do challenge probably the ploy that they use at the back end, because if I look at both those bowlers, their skill set is hitting a good area, making batsmen play. Yes, they reverted to short pitch bowling at the back end of the day, where I felt at the start they probably missed their length. They got better with a slightly older ball, and then in the back end of the day they really missed their length. And for me, yeah, I mean, you have to take control, and especially with 2 senior statesmen like that, you know, that know what needs to happen, especially on a Lord's surface as well. So yeah, the big question mark for me, maybe yes, were they match ready, but I think they've got enough experience to, you know, to step up to the plate.
What is strange, isn't it? We normally talk about the touring side, don't we? We always say that the touring side running into a series with not enough match practice.
Not
you know,
ready.
we're not ready, and you know, India turned up for this, you know, the slightly strange game, but we're saying, well, actually they haven't had much practice. England had already come off the back of a 3 test match series. You know, we always say it's such an advantage the first game that England normally have in test series. But this is where, you know, we're talking about structure of the game so much. We're talking about, you know, when does cricket being played? It makes zero sense that if you actually look in the light of day, there is no first class cricket going on for anyone to play.
Yep.
When there's a test match series going on, and that has to change. There's no excuse for him. That has to change.
No, I hear you, but I think on an even bigger topic, I mean, the last test match South Africa played was in April. You know what I mean? I mean, Rabada was injured for most of the T20 series, so you could also argue the point, you know, how much overs does he have under the legs? Yes, he's a lot younger than the two of them, but yeah, so for me, it's also understanding what needs to be done. I mean, you know, those guys, like I said, they're vastly experienced. They know that at the start of the innings, they probably missed their length a little bit, you know, trying to be conservative, trying to play the safe one, you know, instead of going a touch fuller. But yeah, to me, yes, I mean, we can sit here and question, you know, what's going to work and what's not going to work. Of course, miles on the leg is first prize, and you need to do those miles. And unfortunately, no one. I mean, I was making the statement earlier about you can't bowl your overs on a treadmill. It's as simple as that. You know, we and I've had this conversation with KG in particular. You know, and for a long period of time, you know, when he's got a 2-week break, he wants it as a complete break, right? And then return 3 days before test match, bowl the 2 net sessions, and then think you're going to be test match fit. It doesn't happen that way. So as an experienced bowler, I'd expect them to understand what they need to do. As a younger bowler, where KG was probably 2 years ago, it's, you know, you can have the chat, but he needs to understand that, you know what, you can't just rock up and bowl those 12 overs before a test match and think you're going to be test match ready.
What about these fields? I mean, and particularly to new batsmen coming in, and not necessarily higher order ones, to sort of middle order. I mean, I'm thinking, Markram, Van der Dussen, and down they went. I mean, for a time they had 5 slips set, which also seemed a bit over the top, to be honest, when they were still looking for a wicket. But then he went to no slips. And for the new batsmen, this very strange set field, which I was making the point earlier, it must be talked about a lot because they know exactly where to stand, and they're standing in very eccentric, unorthodox places. Now, surely a new batsman comes in, and we've heard England talking about the swing and the movement and the pitch. You try and get them to nick it to slip, don't you?
They changed the tactic, I thought, quite well at Avia. You know, he'd grind his way through, and it's a genuine tactic to do, isn't it? He's played nicely for a 70, right, we're going to change it up. It's not nice as a batsman for that change, so I have no problem with that. I think we know with Ben Stokes, his captaincy start is all in. It's whatever he's doing, he's going all in. There's no middle way, there's no compromise. If we're bowling pitched up to nick the ball, I'm having my 3, 4, 5 slips, and I expect you to be good enough to bowl the right area.
5's a lot.
He had 5 at one stage.
5's a lot of slips.
With the slope against it, which at Lords, you know that you LBW and bowled tend to be the dismissal if you're bowling from the pavilion end with the slope coming into the right-handed batsman. But, that's how Ben operates. And I think, in hindsight, the Maharaj, when he first came out to bat, he's a dangerous batter, as you saw as the game, as the evening went on. He's so strong to the offside, because his normal good length ball you can bowl, he can carve it through the offside. He's got brilliant hand-eye coordination, has done it a lot. But they've obviously tactically decided when he first came in, we were going to bounce him. And to fair play to Maharaj, I don't know him that well. He got underneath every single ball, didn't attempt to play it, but Ben Stokes clicked his fingers and went back to length bowling, and then he got away and he bowled a short ball with the man up, and he played a good ball shot. So credit to Maharaj for getting through the tricky 12, 15 balls. Because the tactic hasn't worked, we sit here and go, actually, do you know what, the first 15 balls to Maharaj, you want him nicking.
Yes.
You do, because he does nick. He does nick the ball.
Well, but everyone does. I think when they first come in, that's got to be the most likely way of getting somebody out.
Like, I think if you, as a bowler, you look at certain trends on certain venues, and if we're being really honest with ourselves, I haven't seen a lot of batsmen being bounced out on the surface. So for me, yes, obviously Maharaj, he is a dangerous player. You want to push him back initially, but I felt that, for me, always the first 20 balls to a new batter, he's always going to be vulnerable. So you want to look at your chances and percentages thereof. So when is the best time for me to get him out? It's probably in the first 10 balls. So I don't mind maybe 1 or 2 bounces, but to have it as a continuous plan, which I felt they've lost a lot of energy. Obviously Broad and Anderson has bowled a lot of overs, and to ask them to come in and bowl a 4-over spell of just bounces is wasting the energy. I mean, I'd far rather say,
what, too, isn't it?
I've just got myself back into this game, back into this contest. I want to give myself the best opportunity of taking wickets, and that best opportunity of taking wickets is by bringing all 3 dismissals, all 3 modes of dismissal into play. So by bowling bounces, you've taken 2 of those modes of dismissals out of play, and you're really depending on the batsman to make a mistake. Of course, South Africa in Bouts, I can tell you, he'd have told him, listen, you are going to face the music, and I know Bouts very well. You'd have prepared him well for that music. So you could see all of them at the start, they were not even looking to take it on. Yeah. And I mean, every now and again for tall men like Jansen as well, it's easy just to try and glance it down the leg side. He had no interest. They waited until they came back for the second spell when they were slightly more tired, and they actually took the game to them. So I feel England probably missed a vital part there where they could have gone 8, 9, 10 quickly.
It's going to take something pretty special to get back into this game for England, isn't it?
I've just seen the dressing room doors shut for a while, which is quite unlike England. Actually, normally I'd imagine the message would be we've been in worse situations so far this summer, and they've come back. So it'll be a positive message, not a. I think it's going to be a very positive message, and that's the way they play. So actually, the game is set up for an extraordinary third innings, which so far in this summer we've had.